We are now in Rules for Householders and Monks. We're on Sunday, March 9th, 1884. And let's see. The longing of the worldly minded for God is momentary, like a drop of water on a red-hot frying pan. The water hisses and dries up in an instant. The attention of the worldly minded is directed to the enjoyment of worldly pleasure. Therefore, they do not feel yearning and restlessness for God. People may observe the Ekadashi in three ways. First, the waterless Ekadashi, where they're not permitted even to drink a drop of water. Likewise, an all-renouncing religious mendicant completely gives up all form of enjoyment. Second, while observing the Ekadashi, they take milk and sandesh. Likewise, a householder devotee keeps in his house simple objects of enjoyment. Third, while observing the Ekadashi, they eat luchi and chaka. They eat their fill. They keep a couple of loaves soaking in milk, which they will eat later on. In other words, the illusion here is that this observance is Ekadashi in name only, since the observer fills his stomach with delicious food. By avoiding rice and a few cooked articles, he keeps to the letter of the law, but obviously not to the spirit. A person practices spiritual discipline, but their mind is on lust and greed. It's turned toward enjoyment. Therefore, in that case, the spiritual discipline does not produce the right result. Hazra used to practice much japa and austerity here, but in the country he had his wife, children, and land. Therefore, along with his spiritual discipline, he carried on the business of a broker. Such people cannot be true to their word. One moment they say they will give up fish, but the next moment they break their vow. Is there anything that a man will not do for money? He will even compel a Brahmin or a holy man to carry a load. In my room, sweets would turn bad. Still, I could not give them away to the worldly minded. I could accept dirty water from others, but not even touch the jar of a worldly person. At the sight of rich people, Hazra would call on them. He would give them long lectures. He would say to them, "You see, Rakhal and the other youngsters, they do not practice any spiritual discipline. They simply wander about merrily." A man may live in a mountain cave, smear his body with ashes, observe fasts, and practice austere discipline. But if his mind dwells on worldly objects, on lust and greed, I say, shame on him. But I say that a man is blessed indeed, who eats, drinks, and roams about, but keeps his mind free from lust and greed. Pointing to Mani Malak. There is no picture of a holy man at his house. Divine feeling is awakened through such pictures. Manilo. Yes, there is. In one room, there's a picture of a pious Christian woman engaged in prayer. There is another picture in which a man holds the hill of faith. Below is an ocean of immeasurable depth. If he gives up his hold on faith, he will drop into the bottomless water. There is still a third picture. Several virgins are keeping vigil, keeping their lamps with oil in expectation of the bridegroom. A sleeping virgin is by their side. She will not behold the bridegroom when he arrives. God is described here as the bridegroom. Master smiling, that's very nice. Manilo. I have other pictures too, one of tree of faith and another of sin and virtue. Master to Bhavanat. Those are good pictures. Go to his house and see them. The master remained silent a few minutes. Master. Now and then I reflect on these ideas and I find that I do not like them. In the beginning of spiritual life, a person should think about sin and how to get rid of it. But when, through the grace of God, devotion and ecstatic love are awakened in his heart, then he altogether forgets virtue and sin. Then he leaves the scripture and their injunctions far behind. Thoughts of repentance and penance do not bother him at all. It's like going to your destination along a winding river. This requires great effort and a long time. But when there's a flood all around, then you can go straight to your destination in a short time. Then you will find the land lying under it deep. Then you will find the land lying under the water deep as a bamboo pole. In the beginning of spiritual life, one goes about by a roundabout way. One has to suffer a great deal. But the path becomes very easy when ecstatic love is awakened in the heart. It's like going over the paddy field after the harvest is over. You can then walk in any direction. Before the harvest, you have to go along the winding balk. But now you can walk in any direction. There may be stubble in the field, but you will not be hurt by it if you walk with your shoes on. Just so, an aspirant does not suffer if he has discrimination, dispassion, and faith in the Guru's words. Manilal to the master. Well, what's the rule for concentration? Where should one concentrate? Master. The heart is a splendid place. One can meditate there or in the Sahasrara that's at the top of the head. These are the rules for meditation given in the scriptures, but you may meditate wherever you like. Every place is filled with Brahman consciousness. Is there any place where it does not exist? Narayana, in Vali's presence, covered the 2 steps with heaven, the earth, and the inner space. There's a reference here. The reference is to the story of the Bhagavata. King Vali was proud of his charity. God appeared before him in the form of a dwarf and asked him for the space that he could cover between 3 steps. Vali granted the boon. With 2 steps, the Lord covered the earth, the heavens, and the inner spaces. Vali was forced to place his own head before the Lord for the 3rd step. This curbed his pride. All right, so here we go. Is there any place left uncovered by God? A dirty place is as holy as the bank of the Ganges. It is said that the whole of creation is the Virat, the universal form of God. There are 2 kinds of meditation, one on the formless God and the other on God with form. But meditation on the formless God is extremely difficult. In that meditation, you must wipe out all that you see or hear. You contemplate only the nature of your inner self. Meditating on his inner self, Shiva dances about. He exclaims, "What am I? What am I?" This is called Shiva Yoga. While practicing this form of meditation, one directs one's look to the forehead. It is meditation on the nature of one's own inner self, after negating the world, following the Vedantic method of neti, neti, not this, not this. There's another form of meditation known as Vishnu Yoga. The eyes are fixed on the tip of the nose. Half the look is directed inward and the other half outward. There's actually a picture of Swami Abhedananda in that. It's like, now when we read that, it's like, oh, that's what he's doing, Vishnu Yoga. This is how one meditates on God with form. Sometimes Shiva meditates on God with form and dances. At that time, he exclaims, "Rama, Rama," and dances about. Sri Ramakrishna then explained the sacred word Om and the true knowledge of Brahman and the state of mind after the attainment of Brahmajnana. Master, the sound Om is Brahman. The rishis and sages practiced austerity to realize that sound Brahman. After attaining perfection, one hears the sound of the eternal word after rising spontaneously from the navel. What will you gain, some sages ask, by merely hearing the sound? You hear the roar of an ocean from the distance. By following the roar, you can reach the ocean. As long as there is that roar, there must be the ocean. By following the trail of Om, you attain Brahman, of which the word is the symbol. That Brahman has been described by the Vedas as the ultimate goal. But such vision is not possible as long as you are conscious of your ego. A person realizes Brahman only when he feels neither I nor you, neither one nor many. Think of the sun and 10 jars filled with water. The sun is reflected in each jar. At first you see 1 real sun and 10 reflected suns. If you break 9 of the jars, there will remain only the real sun and 1 reflection. Each jar represents the jiva, that's the individual soul. Following the reflection, one can find the real sun. Through the individual soul, one can reach the supreme soul. Through spiritual discipline, the individual soul can get the vision of the supreme soul. What remains when that last jar is broken cannot be described. The jiva at first remains in a state of ignorance. He's not conscious of God, but of the multiplicity. He sees many things around him. On attaining knowledge, he becomes conscious that God dwells in all beings. Suppose a man has a thorn in the sole of his foot. He gets another thorn and takes out the first one. In other words, he removes the thorn of ajnana, ignorance, by means of the thorn of jnana, knowledge. But on attaining vijnana, he discards both thorns, knowledge and ignorance. Then he talks intimately with God day and night. There is no more vision. There is no more, it is no mere vision of God. It's not a vision, it's the actual experience of that. Not a vision, but the whole shebang here. He who has merely heard of milk is ignorant. He who has seen milk has knowledge, but he who has drunk milk and been strengthened by it has attained vijnana. That's the guy who gets the whole shebang. Thus the master described his own state of mind to the devotees. He was indeed a vijnani. Master to the devotees. There is a difference between a sadhu endowed with jnana and one endowed with vijnana. The jnani sadhu has a certain way of sitting. He twirls his mustache and asks his visitor, "Well, sir, have you any question to ask?" But the man who always sees God and talks to him intimately has an altogether different nature. He is sometimes like an inert thing, sometimes like a ghoul, sometimes like a child, and sometimes like a madman. When he is in samadhi, he becomes unconscious of the outer world and appears inert. He sees everything to be full of Brahman consciousness, and therefore he behaves like a ghoul. He is not conscious of the holy and the unholy. He does not observe any formal purity. To him, everything is Brahman. He is not aware of filth as such. Even rice and other cooked food, after a few days, becomes like filth. Again, he's like a madman. People notice his ways and actions and think him to be quite insane. Or sometimes he's like a child, no bondage, no shame, no hatred, no hesitation or the like. One reaches this state of mind after having the vision of God. When a boat passes by a magnetic hill, its screws and nails become loose and drop out. Lust, anger, and other passions cannot exist after the vision of God. Once a thunderbolt struck the Kali temple, I noticed that it flattened the points on the screws. It is no longer possible for the man who has seen God to beget children and perpetuate the creation. When a grain of paddy is sown, it grows into a plant, but a grain of boiled paddy does not germinate. He who has seen God retains his eye only in name. No evil can be done by that eye. It's a mere appearance, like a mark left on a coconut tree by its branch. The branch has fallen off, only the mark remains. I said to Keshav Sen, "Give up the ego that makes you feel, I am the doer, I am teaching people." Keshav said to me, "Sir, then I cannot keep the organization." Thereupon I said to him, "Give up the wicked ego. One doesn't have to renounce the ego that makes one feel, I am the servant of God, I am his devotee. One doesn't develop the divine ego as long as one retains the wicked ego. If a person's in charge of the storeroom, the master of the house doesn't feel responsible for it." To the devotees, "You see, my nature is changing on account of this injury to my arm. It's being revealed to me that there is a greater manifestation of God in man than in other created beings. God is telling me, as it were, I dwell in men, be merry with man. Among men, God manifests himself in a still greater degree in pure-souled devotees. That is why I feel great longing for Narendra, Rakhal, and other such youngsters. We often see small holes along the edge of a lake. Fish and crabs accumulate there. Just so there's a greater accumulation of divinity in man. It is said that man is greater than the shalagram. A shalagram is a stone, kind of a flat, ovular stone that represents Vishnu. Man is Narayana himself. If God can manifest himself through an image, then why not through man also? God is born as man for the purpose of sporting as man. Rama, Krishna, and Chaitanya are examples. By meditating on an incarnation of God, one meditates on God himself. Bhagavan Das, a Brahmo devotee, arrived. Master to Bhagavan Das, the eternal religion, the religion of the rishis, has been in existence from time out of mind and will exist eternally. There exist in this Sanatana Dharma all forms of worship, worship of God with form and worship of the impersonal deity and so on. Other forms of religion, the modern cults, will remain for a few days and then disappear. And that's the end of that day. Any questions, any arguments or suggestions about this? Okay, we'll move on. March 23rd, 1884. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in his room after his midday meal with Rakhal, Ram, and a few other devotees. He was not quite well. The injured arm was still bandaged. But in spite of his illness, his room was a veritable mart of joy, and he was the center of it. Devotees thronged there daily to see the master. Spiritual talk went on incessantly, and the very air of the room vibrated with bliss. Sometimes the master would sing the name and glories of God, and sometimes he would go into samadhi, the devotees being amazed at the ease with which the master freed himself from the consciousness of the body. Ram. There is talk of Narendra's marrying Mr. R. Mitra's daughter, of Narendra's marrying Mr. R. Mitra's daughter. Narendra has been offered a large dowry. Master smiling, yes. Narendra may thus become the leader of society or something like that. He will be an outstanding man no matter whatever career it follows, no matter what career he follows. The master did not much encourage the conversation about Narendra. Master to Ram, well, can you tell me why I've become so impatient when I am ill? Sometimes I ask this man and sometimes that man how I may be cured. You see, one must either believe everyone or no one at all. I think Swami Swahananda was like that. If someone would offer him a cure, he'd take that. Another person would make a suggestion, he would take that too. So it was like 12 different cures for one thing, all taken simultaneously. Very guileless mind. It is God himself who has become the physicians. Therefore, one must believe in all of them. But one cannot have faith in them if one thinks of them as mere men. Shambhu was fearfully delirious. Dr. Sarvadikari said that the delirium was due to the strong medicine. Haladhari asked the doctor to feel his pulse. The doctor said, "Let me see your eyes." "Oh, it's an enlargement of the spleen." Haladhari said he had nothing of the sort, but Dr. Madhu gives good medicine. Ram. The medicine by itself does no good, though it greatly helps nature. Master. If that is so, then why does opium cause constipation? Ram referred to Keshav Sen's death. Ram. You were quite right. You said that a gardener uncovers the roots of a good rose plant so that it may absorb the dew and grow stronger and healthier. The words of a holy man must be fulfilled. Master, I don't know about that. I wasn't calculating when I said it. It is you who say that. Ram, the Brahmos have published something about you in their magazine. Master, published about me? Why? Why should they write now? I eat and drink and make merry. I don't know anything else. I once asked Keshav, why have you written about me? He said that it would bring people here. But man cannot teach by his own power. One cannot conquer ignorance without the power of God. At one time, 2 men were engaged to wrestle. One of them was Hanuman Singh and the other Muslim from the Punjab. The Muslim was a strong, stout man. He had eaten lustily of butter and meat for 15 days before the day of the wrestling match. And even on that day, all thought he would be the victor. Hanuman Singh, on the other hand, clad in a dirty cloth, had eaten sparingly for some days before the day of the match and devoted himself to repeating the holy name of Mahavir. That's another name for Hanuman. and Hanuman is the patron deity of wrestlers. On the day of the match, he observed, this Hanuman saying, observed a complete fast. All thought that he surely would be defeated, but it is he who won, while the man who feasted for 15 days lost the fight. What is the use of printing and advertising? He who teaches men gets his power from God. None but a person of renunciation can teach others. I am the greatest of all fools. All laugh. A devotee. Then how is it that the Vedas and the Vedanta and many things besides come out of your mouth? Master, smiling. During my boyhood, I could understand what the sadhus read at the Laha's house in Kamarpukur, although I would miss a little here and there. If a pundit speaks to me in Sanskrit, I can follow him, but I cannot speak it myself. To realize God is the one goal of life. While aiming his arrow at the mark, Arjuna said, I see only the eye of the bird and nothing else, not the kings, not the trees, not even the bird itself. The realization of God is enough for me. What does it matter if I don't know Sanskrit? The grace of God falls alike on all his children, the learned and the illiterate, whoever longs for him. The Father has the same love for all his children. Suppose a father has 5 children. One calls him Baba. Baba is the Bengali word for father. One calls him Baba, some Ba, and the other, and some Pa. The last cannot pronounce the whole word. Does the father love those who dress him as Baba more than those who call him Pa? The father knows that the last are simply too young to say Baba correctly. Since this injury to my arm, a change has been coming over my mind. I've been feeling much inclined to the Nara Leela. It is God himself who plays about as human beings. If God can be worshipped through his clay image, then why not through a man? Once a merchant was shipwrecked. He floated to the shore of Ceylon, where Bibhishana was the king of the monsters. That's the Rakshasas. That's Ravana's brother. Vibhishana ordered his servants to bring the merchant to him. At the sight of him, Bibhishana was overwhelmed with joy and said, Ah, he looks like my Rama, the same human form. He adorned the merchant with robes and jewels and worshipped him. When I first heard this story, I felt such joy I cannot describe it. Vaishnavacharan said to me, if a person looks upon his beloved as his Ishta, he finds it very easy to direct his mind to God. The men and women of a particular sect at Shambhasar, that's the Kartabhajas. And there's a footnote here. A minor sect of Vaishnavism, such as the Kartabhaja and the Navarashika, who teach that men and women should live together in the relationship of love. Gradually, they should idealize their love by looking upon each other as divine, eventually realizing that their physical love is also the love of God. And Swami Nikhilananda's last sentence is, this is very difficult to realize. The men and women of that particular sect near Kamarpukur say to each other, whom do you love? I love so-and-so. Then know him to be your God. When I heard this, I said to them, this is not my way. I look upon all women as my mother. I found out that they talk big but led immoral lives. The women then asked me if they would have salvation. Yes, I said, if you are absolutely faithful to one man and look on him as your God. But you cannot be liberated if you live with 5 men. Ram. I understand that Kedar Babu has recently visited the Kartabhaja's place. Master. He gathers honey from various flowers. To Ram, Nitya and the others. If a devotee believes 100% that his chosen ideal is God, then he attains God and sees him. People of bygone generations had tremendous faith. What faith Haladhari's father had. Once he was on a way to his daughter's house when he noticed some beautiful flowers and bilva leaves. He gathered them for the worship of the family deity and walked back 5 or 6 miles to his own house. Once a theatrical group in the village was enacting the life of Rama. When Kaikeyi asked Rama to go to exile in the forest, Haladhari's father, who had been watching the performance, sprang up. He went to the actor who played Kaikeyi, crying out, "You wretch!" and was about to burn the actor's face with a torch. He was a very pious man. After finishing his ablutions, he would stand in the water and meditate on the deity, reciting the invocation, I meditate on thee, of red hue and four faces, while tears stream down his cheek. When my father walked along the lanes of the village wearing his wooden sandals, the shopkeepers would stand up out of respect and say, "There he comes." When he bathed in the Haldalpurkur, that's the local pond, the villagers would not have the courage to get into the water. Before bathing, they would inquire if he'd finished his bath. When my father chanted the name of Raghavir, his chest would turn crimson. This also happened to me. When I saw the cows at Vrindavan returning from pasture, I was transported into a divine mood, and my body became red. Very strong was the faith of the people in those days. One hears that God used to dance then, taking the form of Kali, while the devotee clapped his hands, keeping time. A Hatha yogi was staying in the hut of the Panchavati. Ram Prasanna, the son of Krishna Kishore of Aryadaha, and several other men had become his devotees. The yogi needed 25 rupees a month for his milk and opium, so Ram Prasanna had requested Sri Ramakrishna to speak to his devotees about the yogi and get some money. The master said to several devotees, "A Hatha yogi has come to the Panchavati. Go and visit him. See what sort of man he is." A young man of 27 or 28, known as Thakur Dada, entered the room with a few friends and saluted the master. He lived at Baranagar and was the son of a Brahmin Pandit. He was practicing the Katha Katha, which is the recital of the religious books with appropriate music. He was doing this in order to earn money to meet his family's expenses. At one time, he'd been seized with the spirit of renunciation and had gone away from his family. Even now, he practiced spiritual discipline at home. "Master, have you come on foot? Where do you live?" Dada, "Yes, sir. I've walked from home. I live at Baranagar." Master, "Have you come here for any particular purpose?" Dada, "I've come here to visit you. I pray to God. But why do I suffer now and then from worries? For a few days I feel very happy. Why do I feel restless afterwards?" Master, "I see. Things have not been fitted quite exactly. The machine works smoothly if the mechanic fits the cogs of the wheels correctly. In your case, there's an obstruction somewhere." Dada, "Yes, sir, that must be so." Master, "Are you initiated?" Dada, "Yes, sir." Master, "Do you have faith in your mantra?" A friend of Thakur Dada said that the latter could sing well. The master asked him to sing. Thakur Dada sang, "I shall become a yogi and dwell in love's mountain cave. I shall be lost in yoga beside the fountainhead of bliss. I shall appease my hunger for knowledge with the fruit of truth. I shall worship the feet of God with the flower of dispassion. I shall not seek a well to slake the burning thirst in my heart, but I shall draw the water of peace into the jar of my soul. Drinking the glorious nectar of thy blessed lotus feet, I shall both laugh and dance and weep and sing on the heights of joy." Master, "Oh, what a nice song. Fountainhead of bliss, fruit of truth. Laugh and dance and weep and sing. Your song tastes very sweet to me. Why should you worry? Pleasure and pain are inevitable in the life and the world. One suffers now and then from a little worry and trouble. A man living in a room full of soot cannot help by being stained." Dada, "Please tell me what I should do now." Master, "Chant the name of Hari day and night, morning and evening, clapping your hands. Come once more when my arm is healed a bit." Mahimacharan entered the room and saluted the master. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "Ah, he has sung a nice song. Please sing it again." And Thakur Dada repeated the song. I think this is a good place for us to stop. Any questions, comments on this section? No? No? Okay. All right. Elizabeth, why did Sri Ramakrishna tell the guy to come back when his arm is healed? Probably because he, one doesn't know. I suspect Sri Ramakrishna kind of wanted Thakur Dada to be himself in a better state of mind, to kind of let what Sri Ramakrishna said to him kind of settle And I think he said, in other words, when my arm is healed, it'll, be a few weeks, maybe a month, who knows. But that way he would have a little time for Sri Ramakrishna's words for him to kind of settle into him, so that adjustment that he said that he needed could take place. That is my suspicion, though I don't know. That's my guess. Okay, so our announcements. Tomorrow, Swami Mahayogananda will speak on spiritual practice. On Wednesday, we will have a reading from the book Swami Akhandananda by Swami Anandananda, which is now, or will be by very soon, available in our bookstore. It's there, it just hasn't been entered yet. So it is there. Unfortunately, it's now available only in hardcover, but it's only $10.95, and it's such a great book. We are enjoying it. It's a big week. Today is our first day of Navaratri, the first day of chanting Jaya Shri Durga, or your mantra, so hope you're all enjoying it and doing it. This coming Saturday, Durga Puja. Yes, Durga Puja. This Saturday, you're all welcome. Please come if it's humanly possible. We would all love to see you. Starts at 11 o'clock, followed by the flower offering. There'll be music, flower offering, and then prasad. And then we will be chanting on Sunday, the following Sunday, from 7:34 to 8:22 p.m. will be Sunday Puja, the time that Divine Mother engages in battle with Mahisasura and destroys him. And that will be done, I suppose we'll be zooming that, right? Durga, do you think?
We have a YouTube link.
Or YouTube, it'll be on YouTube. It's kind of a long way from where some of you are. So yeah, so we'll be chanting Jai Shri Durga for this period of time. And that is it for this week. Okay, there will not be a reading on Saturday because it is Durga Puja, and which is plenty. Okay, so then I'll finish with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Thank you for joining, everybody. Have a blessed season of the Divine Mother. Happy Mahalaya. And we'll see you later. Jai Ma.